Geez, I probably saw him play live probably 12 times over there. I was over in Sweden. Had 3 trips over to Sweden, some at World Juniors. It was obviously quick, but saw both games, and I was over at the World Championships.
What about him stood out and kept building?
The compete, the character. It seemed some in the playoffs before I came to the U18s, and it was an incredible atmosphere in Farjestad, and just how, to me, he was one of the best players on the ice as a 17-year-old kid. You know, he just seemed to embrace that moment. It seemed like as the games got bigger, he got better. Talking to Rogla, you know, the coach and general manager, the Abbott brothers, you know, they were, very complimentary of, how he responded in any situation. And, for a 17-year-old kid that, was over there and started on the 4th line, and next thing you know, he's on the power play and he's getting some key minutes. He earned everything, and it was just, his, basically, you just talk about, a kid like that, his personality, and he wanted to get better. And he did get better, and that was, the thing. So I would probably say just, the intensity that he plays with, his compete and work ethic's off the charts. Very good skater. We really like his skill set. I mean, his size, obviously, we drafted him as a centerman. So you just kind of look at all those things that we're looking for at pick 8. He checked all the boxes for us, and we're excited to get him. And saw him at the World Championships, playing against men. You got a little nervous that he might not be there at 8. Like he obviously had a pretty good, 10 days over there. But it's worked out well for us, and we have a real good prospect that we're excited about. I mean, just a quick story on him. He obviously committed to go play in Rogla. Before he showed up in Sweden, he learned the Swedish language. So that obviously shows you the type of kid that that we drafted. Pretty impressive. So we're excited. The combine, the interview went really well. The fitness testing went really well. So you just kind of talk about everything that he has and he does. And like I said, we were excited to select him.
I know he played a little bit with Sider, and he's familiar with Edmonton, played against him. Do you ask those guys what they think of him, or like kind of their impressions, or?
No. It's. I mean, we're pretty fortunate of who we have over in Sweden. You got Nick Lidstrom and Nicholas Kronwall. And I think that probably one of the guys that saw him as much as anything was Kroner, because obviously I have William Wallander over there for development. So, it's I kind of watch. Kroner watches him. I get to read some reports on him, and like I said, it seemed to anyone who went and watched William play on the development side or saw Kasper play, the reports came back just obviously really positive, and a player that for a lot of reasons we're excited about.
What does it tell you about him that he played some of his best hockey in the playoffs?
Well, it's we just ended up watching 2 months of playoff hockey, and obviously how competitive it gets, obviously how hard it is to get to the net. I mean, you just I really appreciate how and where he scores his goals. That's something that is important, and he seems to score the goals in the right area. You kind of look at after games or how he produces, and it's in those hard areas. He likes to get there. He has good size. He's a very good skater, and the tenaciousness and the compete is something that kept hitting home with us every time we saw him play. So to go in there as a 17-year-old kid and play, those rinks are unreal. You had a trip over there, and in the playoff time when you go in there and the atmospheres it's pretty challenging. And for a 17-year-old kid to step up and embrace those situations is something that is pretty special for us.
Do you see his offense as being kind of that right to the net, maybe from down low behind the net of a battle? Like, what do you think it'll look like in the end?
I think that's there, but I also think there's more skill than what we saw, and I think the reason why we say that is it was a 17-year-old kid playing in a really hard league that was still able to produce some pretty good offense. So I think that that's what we think. We think that it's a player that has good skill and good sense, and he has a good set of hands, and we've seen him make plays. Like that's the thing that you really like about him. But the things that kept standing out was obviously his competitiveness, his willingness to get to the hard areas, and just the compete, and just a guy that it seemed like every game it was almost he played the same. And that's something pretty impressive for a 17-year-old kid. There really wasn't a lot of drop-off in his play and in his compete. So like I said, those are the things that every time we went in and we watched him, we come away with that.
Steve said he thinks he could play play all three forward positions. I assume that he's drafted him at center. What gives you confidence he'll stay down the middle?
We did because he's a smart player, and I think that's kind of how he grew up that way. Playing center. Obviously now you talk to Rogla and discuss the possibility of that. But over at the World Championships, I saw him play, moments at center, and he actually looked really comfortable. He's smart. He can generate a lot of speed through the neutral zone. He knows where to go. He gets to good spots to get the puck with speed. And he's a centerman that can distribute the puck to his wingers. It's either on forehand or backhand. So, that's why I'd say that, he can make play the center position. And that's, another thing that we're excited about is we all know how important centers are. And obviously within the organization, we needed that.
You touched on this a little bit, but how much weight does it carry knowing a young kid, 17, 18-year-old, is playing in a men's league like the SHL and playing well in that league?
It's great. It's obviously over the last couple of years we've been able to watch the SHL a lot. Drafting Lucas Raymond over there and obviously Simon Edvinsson as well. And it's a hard league. And, there are a lot of nights where, there's some young, 17-year-old kids that don't play. And Marco seemed to, just continue to play. He had a defined role almost, right off the hop. It was a fourth line, second power play, player. But he just, he just wouldn't go away. He just every opportunity he got, he seemed to step up, get more ice time. And I think, as a coach, when you're looking down the bench and you see a kid that's as competitive as him, as a good as skater and the willingness just to compete, it's pretty easy to find some ice time for him. So I think, you look at all those. The SHL, it's a hard league. It's a hard league for 17, 18-year-old prospects. But we thought he handled it well. And, for a lot of reasons like we talked about, the sense, the compete, and obviously the skating, all those things were never an issue for him.
18 years old, he's obviously got a lot of room left to grow. What do you hope this new coaching staff kind of instills or maybe taps into as, his NHL journey kind of begins?
That'll probably, be discussed. We can't wait to get him to development camp. And then I think from there you kind of, he's in a unique situation being, a European player, playing pro hockey already. So, playing against men, he's been able to handle it in obviously a very good league over in the SHL. So, I think the thing that, we need to do and we need to keep reminding ourselves with these guys is, we have to be patient. That's something that, is obviously important for us. You look at the importance of Moritz Seider having that year in Rogla and playing there and letting him just kind of go over and do his thing. I think, that was huge for his development. So I think that's probably something, and the coaches, talking to, Derek, he's heard us talk about Marco Kasper. He's obviously never seen him. He's probably met him now. So he's going to get a feel for the type of player that he is, next week in development camp.